Hey people, this is a drive-in thought. Sometimes I take this opportunity to, talk about things that either come up or came on my mind or anything like that. So, my friend and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and we kind of continued the conversation today. At first, he thought I was possibly like not coming at him, but like kind of making an excuse around it, and it wasn't that. I was explaining more to him about how I feel, and what I'm talking about is us being fans and how sports people are fans and all these things. And when it comes to geekdom, how you can feel terrible about a lot of this junk that goes on. Because if you think about it, right? You have supposed comic book professionals constantly, not all of them, but quite a few of them, constantly calling you different types of names. Just because you don't like something, or they're like, why can't you evolve? Or why can't this is old? Or why can't, this, and why can't you just say it because you're an istaphobe of some sort? Now, my boy, he has a way of just not caring about things. It's not that he doesn't feel, it's that if it's not something that's directly detrimental to him, he's like, I don't care. It can annoy him, but it's not detrimental to him. Now, as we know, a lot of us, and when I was talking back and forth with them, because I wanted to talk about it, there's a lot of emotion that goes into our comic books, our mediums, and things like that. And there's a connection. Now, he made a great point where he was like, listen, man, I'm not saying you ain't supposed to feel nothing, but you got other stuff to worry about, bills, your job, houses, things like that, where adding that anger is another stress. Because he's like, yo, if I could ever record you to hear how angry you are when you hear about a race swap or someone saying something or any of that stuff, like it sounds like you're about to pop a blood vessel and go Super Saiyan. And I thought about it over the course of a couple weeks and talked to him like about the fact that this X-Men gala thing, that's dumb. No comic book person that I know of is like, oh man, all I ever wanted to see was the X-Men fashion up. But even if they're going for a different crowd, why are you going for that crowd that doesn't normally buy comics or is interested in your stuff, the fashion crowd? So I don't understand where the thought comes from. Or the fact that they hired Ta-Nehisi Coates to write and pen Clark Kent as being black. That angers me. Or a lot of what these comic books have been doing. And don't get me wrong, I haven't dropped all my comics. Some people are like, we dropped the ball. No, there's some good comics out there for DC and Marvel, but I've whittled it down. I had a couple receipts I was going to show y'all, but I just threw them away. Like, I realized how much I used to spend on comics, and I'm talking when I wasn't making anywhere near the money I'm making now. I'm not saying I'm rich or nothing, but I would say I'm making more grown person money now than what I was before. Talking about my 20s, teenage years, I used to have stacks and stacks and stacks of comic books, right? So I have thousands of comic books. One day I have to actually redo the inventory. I know when I stopped counting, I was at like 5,000 or 6,000, and I was like, I'll get back to this later, and then I never did. I've been buying comic books since I was like 8, and I'm talking about when I bought them, not when I had them. My first comic book was actually a He-Man comic book that used to come with the toys. I actually had to think about that a while ago. I said, what is my first comic book? And I came to realize my first comic book was the one with the He-Man toys. Now, the funny thing is, it was the toys with some words said around them with bird bubbles. But that's technically my first comic book. My first experience with superheroes was Superman because of the Superman movie. Yeah, okay. And I've dedicated hundreds and thousands of dollars to these people. And it's funny because I've had conversations with people online. I used to get hot. More recently, I have not gotten hot about it or whatever. But he was being very practical. He was like, yeah, you got to cut these things off. Like, that's what it is. If you don't like what they're doing, stop buying it, which I do. But then you run into a new problem. And I told him, I said, dude, all this stuff, all of this wokey stuff, and there's a difference between diversity and woke, and I want people to get that. Diversity would be, hey, we're going to have the Justice Society inside of Black Adam. We want black characters. Is there any Justice Society members that were black? Oh, Johnny Thunder? Yeah, Jakeem, the new one. Black. Okay, and you can make that work and maybe make a family line thing about it. Oh, we have these other characters that are Latina and all this stuff. Nope, what they do is they make Carter Hall black, and their excuse for it, or at least people that apologize for it, they finally fixed it. Egyptians are black. And I'm like, well, by the time when he ruled Egypt, they were more light-skinned. They were not the dark-skinned guy, the same skin tone as the guy that they picked to play him. And I remember going back and forth with this dude, and he was frustrating me because I'm like, no, Carter Hall is not black. Well, they should have did it this way. Well, they didn't. That's just the way it is. I'm like, would you feel the same if I turned around and said, hey, I want, this character to be this race? Like Luke Cage to be a race? Or Storm? Maybe Storm should be Caucasian. Africans, a lot of people who run Africa are Caucasian. So what about that? Oh, no? Well, why not? I mean, it's, and you start getting into these things, but it starts to frustrate you. So then they took Spinning Top, made her black. And I'm like, there is an actress right now who is black and Jamaican, Jamaican and Irish, who has red hair, just like Spinning Top. Spinning Top is Irish. There you go. You got your check mark because she has Jamaican in her. She's a very good actress. She's been in Solo. She was in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Why would you do that? And they're doing all of these things now. I don't know. And it would get me really angry. He was like, dude, I don't understand why you let it get to you so much. And I explained it to him. I said, I get why some people are passionate. Now, I think it's a little ridiculous when you buy stuff just to destroy it. But I'm telling him at the same time, he remembers, him and his team, he had that same thing, and he had to kind of switch his gears. And I was explaining to him what it is that superheroes, comic books, video games, movies, all these things are huge parts of my life. So when these people are crapping on me because I don't like the direction they're taking because of what it is, it angers me. But then I started to think about it from before because I'm like, I'm tired of, I'm mixing the conversations up between that time and this time. I'm like, I'm tired of cutting things off. I don't want to cut these things off. The fact that I didn't get Hulk like I used to after the Mark Waid run and stuff, because I was just worried they're going to wokeify him with Totally Awesome Hulk, even though I do like they eventually shifted the character to Braun and he became his own character. I actually liked Amadeus Cho. I used to get the Incredible Hercules. So, yeah. I really liked Amadeus Cho. I didn't even hate the idea of Totally Awesome Hulk compared to some of these other things, some of these other stories that we've gotten. Or how they switched out some of the characters. Because he did what he did in honor of Bruce. And that's what I liked when I saw that. It was more of I'm honoring him. Kind of like how Miles was. So, as we're talking, I told him, I'm like, dude, I don't want to keep having to cut things off because of the terrible ideas and the terrible writing and these things. He's like, I do get that. I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but when I cancel these comics and stuff, it feels like I'm cutting into myself. And you know, like, I literally feel like I'm cutting a piece of myself out because it's a part of who I am. I know comic books, I know movies, I know TV shows. And I had to pinpoint, where is this anger coming from? That it started to hit me. It's bad storytelling. I don't care if I read a story and the story is not great and I wasn't feeling it. That happens. But it's a difference between that and you going out of your way to destroy the story or break the story to preach to me about why men are terrible and why straight white men do this, like they did with Moon Girl and Captain Marvel's conversation. And I was going to buy the Moon Girl comic because I bought Super Dinosaur. I like dinosaurs. I have some things I like, just being a kitty. You throw certain things into a book or something, I might just buy it because of it. One of those things is dinosaurs. You're breaking the story. You're doing these things. It's just agitating and it's aggravating. And these people aren't being professional, but they're acting like you're the bad person. And don't get it twisted. The political crap that they're throwing on, it's the left, it's the right. No, that's a distraction. And it's also a thing because they want to get the rise. Because these people at their core just want to piss you off. Now, has Brian Michael Bendis, for example, had the best run in DC so far? No. I've gotten his Justice League. I haven't gotten to read it yet. But do you know why I take a risk on Brian Michael Bendis? Do you know why? Because the man was amazing to me. So I at least want to give him some form of support, or at least try to give him the benefit of the doubt every time. And I try to buy some of his old stuff too. I don't care what anyone says. He was one of the nicest, coolest, at one point, and he still is up there for me. I think he's still an excellent writer. I just think he needs to refine his way. Actually, I think he just was better at Marvel. But he was especially at that time, he was my hero. Like when it came to writing, I fancied myself as a writer back then. And you know how people say don't meet your heroes? I met him, and it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And I'll never forget that. So Brian Michael Bendis will always have a good place in my heart for the way he treated me. And I know it sounds like I'm overhyping him. No, y'all don't get it. He went above and beyond. Like, he found me and signed stuff, and we talked, and it was cool. And my friends were like, oh, he's weird. Because I was like buying anything Brian Michael Bendis. Literally, anything Brian Michael Bendis was writing, I was buying. And he was amazing. And that one interaction as C2E2, I'll never forget it. It's still, his autographs are still some of my most treasured items of people signing things. I put it right up there with the Stan Lee thing I got signed, and when I met Stan Lee. And I'm still mad because that picture got locked up in the computer virus, but I had a picture with him too. But either way, I met Stan Lee. I have my book, and I remember someone tried to tell me to sell it. I was like, are you insane? He was like, you would make so much money off of that. I'm like, it's Stan Lee. I don't care about monetary value. It's Stan Lee. I met him and did it. That's a life achievement. That's literally a next level achievement. I got to meet Stan Lee. And I have something that he wrote, and I have his signature. I have to say, and I'll read you guys a couple of interactions I've had with people online coming up. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is this. We are all passionate. We are all there, but we have to stay vigilant and keep ourselves where we're supposed to be. Keep centered. Remember, in your medium, as much as you love these things, there are other stuff you can get your hands on. I love to add on comics instead of replacing them. But what's been happening is that, like, I got Ultra Mega. I've gotten Ultraman. I got to read the first issue. That was actually pretty good. Another person who's been nothing but awesome, even though we've had limited interaction. Like I said, I've said stuff to him before he said stuff to me, but it's very limited. Care Andrews. Or Care Andrews. I call him Care Andrews. I would love to meet him one day. Matt Fraction was awesome. I've met quite a few of these people, and I've had great experiences with them, and they carry on with me. And I remember that. Carrie Andrews, I will buy pretty much any comic that guy writes. He was the first comic I reviewed on my channel. There's a reason for that. He's awesome. Shawga Murphy, I got his stuff. I've seen he's been cool. So, just so you got to remember, there are so many comics out there that, yeah, I get it. Marvel, DC, they have this the test of time and everything. Really look out there for the independents. You don't even have to, if you're like on Comicsgate, forget all that junk. If you know you like a type of comic, start looking up or ask a friend who's deep into comics and stuff. Okay, I like Superman. I want a comic book like Superman, but I don't like the current Superman. What can I get? I like Spider-Man. Okay, you know what I would suggest to someone that likes Spider-Man? Erratic. You like Superman? You wanted something a little bit more grittier though? Okay, Invincible. I've suggested Invincible to tons of people. You want an awesome comic book from your childhood? Ninja Turtles. Like, look at all of your stuff, movies, everything, and start peeking out there. There is a lot of content out there that can replace the content that you are angry with. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't be angry. Feel it, but don't let it consume you. It wasn't even consuming me. It was just making me mad. But he was like, yo, I swear you're talking about it every day. Now, admittedly, the reason why I talked about the race swap every day is because every time I turn around, they're race swapping something or doing something. And they're not doing it for a meaningful reason. They're doing it for virtue points and Twitter checks or whatever you call them. Twitter likes. When instead, you should be giving me a story or it should be affecting something. And when these people try to put words in your mouth, just be like, I never said that. Be calm. Or don't interact with them, but be calm. I've had people try to tell me, oh, it's this narrative or something. You're going to laugh. I'm going to share a Facebook convo I had with you. I'm not going to say who the person is, but I'm going to share it so you can see how ridiculous people are when they're in their groove and they want their stuff. And they only want it their way, even though nothing was said. But here is something that is quite funny. I have had people accuse me of either comics. I got kicked out of a group because I was talking about, they were like, what comic book are you reading? And I was reading some comic off of an indie thing or Kickstarter or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm reading this. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I want to read it. What's the problem? And they got so upset because they were like, well, that person's associated with this thing. I didn't even know what they were talking about. I just saw it looked cool and I bought it. And they were like, yeah, you can't be on here anymore. And they kicked me off. And this is the stupidity that we have today. But what's funny is that, because it's like, your comic hate group. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. To me, one of the best LGBTQ people, I've said it on YouTube when they've had videos about it or anything, is Dreamer. I think the girl that plays Dreamer, it was really interesting to cast someone who didn't have experience that was a person that was trans. And I'm like, you're amazing. Everything she does is incredible. I love that character. I love that character so much, I want her to have a spin-off show. I just found out, I saw the thing, she's writing Dreamer's Pride book, and I'm like, yes. And she's not done with the character. I'm like, yes. Put her on Legends. Do something. I want more of that character. I think Dreamer is one of the best representation characters of diversity that they've ever done, because it doesn't feel like Dreamer is trying to preach to you. It feels like Dreamer, it's a part of who Dreamer is, but they don't focus on it. Yeah, they have stories with her being that. Personal stories. That is a personal story. Just like if it was a black character, they're going to deal with certain black things because that's just what it is. But when I think of Dreamer, I think of a hero. And I love that. But yet these people are like, but you bought Cyberfrog, you comic, they don't like that. I've never heard them say that. And I've noticed people do that. So when it really comes at the end of it, yes, feel it. Yes, be frustrated, but don't let it destroy you. And it's not always about the old stuff either. There is always something else down the pike that you can find to love and try. Just put a little work in. It'll make you better in the end because you have something that can replace it. I have comics that are replacing it, and to be honest with you, I have not been able to buy the Ninja Turtles the way I want to. I've been finding a couple things on crowdfunding that's been cool. A game, Hellboy, getting the expansion. I just found out SCP is going to be doing something soon. But once my comic things slow down, which it should be slowing down probably by next month, I'm going to start buying the Ninja Turtle books. I was buying them in the singles. Now, I'm going to keep doing that with Invincible, I decided probably. But for Ninja Turtles, no, I'm going to buy all the compendiums. Same with the Hulk. I'm going to buy all the Immortal Hulk. I'm going to buy the collection. If I'm going to wait and be cautious, that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I'm going to do it. I love the Ninja Turtles. Good reading from what I've read of it. So, yeah, it may not be the character, your favorite character or anything like that. But maybe you could find a new character. I like Kaiju. I can't always get the Godzillas, but now I got Ultraman, I got some Godzilla, I got Ultra Mega. Like, there's more than just what they offer to you. And the reason why I want to share this is because you got to remember. Don't let it just get you down. Just be versatile. And you might find something that you might fall in love with. That's all I can say about it. Be passionate, be angry, say your piece, but don't let it consume you. If they race swapped a character or they did something to a character or gender swapped or anything, if it's a week or two later and you're still feeling just as fresh as it is, think about that. Think about how much rent they put in your head, and that's what they want. They want you to do that because you're going to rent. Because I've been in the business with communications and finances and stuff, and I'll tell you this right now. People are so much faster to share negativity than positivity. So much faster. You want to see the bigger YouTube channels of comic books and stuff? Usually they're complaining more. They're raged out more. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying. You will see people much more quicker complain about something, then you'll see them give them props. Because we want to be angry, we want to fuel that fire. But the best way you can do it is take your money away and put it to something cool and maybe something new and fresh, and maybe take some risks on some new content you might be surprised about. Check crowdfunding. There's a lot out there. And yeah, people are like, oh, it's so expensive. Well, you get a lot of stuff normally. And it depends. It's not always that expensive. I mean, sometimes it's like $25. Heck, you could get $25 for a trade paperback from time to time, or a hardcover. That's not even as thick. Like my Power Ranger one was $60. I got a hardcover from DC that was like almost $50 or whatever. It's like that. So, compared to this. So that's all. Try to find your alternatives. Feel it. Complain if you got to. Say something, but don't let it linger where it's like a week or so later and it's doing there. Be passionate, but be patient. And give some of these newer creators a chance. Give some of these newer movies. I'm going to review some independent films and stuff that I've seen on YouTube to try to bring attention to them soon. Just because they deserve it, because they're better than some of the content that's out there. This is Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. I hope my words mean something to you. Just my thoughts on fan base and passion. And trust me, I'm a victim of it too. I flip when I see some of this stuff. And since Clark Kent is going to be the Black Superman, nope. See ya.